Hello, everyone, and welcome to Aging and Spirituality, where we explore different ways to have a fulfilling life after 60. I'm Chris Jensen.
I'm Kathy Taylor.
We're happy you're here with us, and
Yeah.
we hope we're going to inspire you today. Um, what I want to talk about is something we don't hear enough about when it comes to aging. So often the conversation is about decline, right? I mean, about what we lose as we get older. But
Yeah.
what aging is a time of flowering, a season of creativity, whether through art, music, writing, or simply playful living, can blossom in unexpected ways. Think about that. I was,
I like that better. That feels better.
yeah. I was just sharing with Kathy about I was watching my 3-year-old grandson, and we were in this indoor playground place, and he saw this train go by in the mall, and so he wanted to ride it. And I had the best time riding.
There she was riding the train.
Right, I was riding in the caboose with him in this little train, and it was so much fun. So this episode is going to be all about the creativity of aging, because creativity isn't only for the young, it's not only for professional artists.
Mm.
Creativity is a spiritual force that lives in all of us, and it often awakens more fully later in life because we're not so preoccupied with other things. Think about Grandma Moses. She didn't start painting seriously until she was in her 70s, and she went on to become one of America's most beloved folk artists.
Yeah.
And there was the poet Mary Oliver, whose work got better and better. She got older, and she's offering us all kinds of reflections filled with wild wonder and mature clarity. These examples remind us that creativity does not have an expiration date.
Does not.
So, a couple of days ago, I had to do several different things, which involved having conversations with 4 different groups of people. I had to do some errands, I had to do some stuff. And the sad thing was that the main conversation in each of these groups was people talking about their discontent, whether it was with their life or the world around them.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, and it made me think about how, when you shift that focus to something positive, to create something, how contentment can flow and the door to that inner joy just opens. Probably haven't thought about that, creativity being the doorway to joy, but it is. Because within us, yogis have known this for centuries, that within us is this just ever new joy just waiting to burst out. We just have to stop being discontented. And
That you hit on one of the main points that why you practice yoga in the first place. Like, think about it, every day you can choose the openness, the receptivity, the creativity, and experience those feelings that you keep saying you really want to have in your life. You want to have peace, you want to have joy, you want to have all these happiness things. You got to put in the work to do it. And it's not work like, oh, I got to get up 9 to 5, go to work. It's just, you just have to have the focus. And even if you did, you were like focusing on just working at being happy. Well, that's probably a really good thing to do, right? Just know that it literally is your perception and your ability to make sure you focus on the right thing so that happens for you. That's what yoga is all about, that balance.
bad. So I want to talk a little bit about creativity as spiritual energy. I mean, at its core, that's what creativity is. We talk about the attributes of our true self, our inner self, and one of them is that creative intelligence that's within us. It's the spark of life. Many traditions describe the universe as born from a creative force, whether we call it the Big Bang, the Word, or divine imagination. To be creative is to participate in an act of ongoing creation.
Mm.
When
Don't say
you
that again. That's really nice.
To be creative is to participate in that ongoing act of creation.
Yeah, that's so
We're
true.
part of that, and that inner force wants to flow through us. When we write a poem, plant a garden, sing a song, cook a meal with love, it doesn't have to be a big thing. Uh, you know, Aligning ourselves with that sacred energy. That's what
That's
it is. We're
nice.
aligning ourselves with it. In younger
I
years,
love
Creativity often gets tangled up with achievement. We ask, will this be good enough? Will others approve? Am I going to be successful? But with age, something begins to shift. The need to prove ourselves softens because we know who we are, right? The perfectionism starts to loosen its grip on us. We realize creativity doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be authentic and true. What if creativity isn't about making something impressive, but just making something authentic? Something that expresses the spirit that's alive in you right now. Think about recording artists, Often we hear stories about how they struggled with the record company or managers or people who wanted them to perform in a certain way. Somewhere along the line, they decided that that kind of music wasn't what they really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And they were getting lots of grief about it. And the record companies were threatening them. But they wanted to be true to what was their authentic music. And so they said, the heck with all of them, I'm going to do it. And in most cases, when they created that music that was true to who it was even more popular because people could relate to it. It was good, but it didn't matter. See, it didn't matter whether it was good or not. What mattered was that it was a self-expression. Some time ago, I was really into photography, and a few folks and we went to see Brett Weston, who is a very well-known photographer. And so I was looking at this one photograph of his, and I said, "How did you catch the light like that?" And he looked at me like I was crazy. That's 3 seconds before the dawn. Like you don't know. But he lived his life
You
for
had to be
his art.
there.
His art. He said that there were many years people would give him developing paper, because at that time it wasn't
For
digital.
those, yeah.
Yeah, because he couldn't afford to buy it.
Oh,
And
wow.
they offered him jobs. They wanted him to shoot advertising catalogs. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. He said, I could only photograph the beauty I saw. And he said, I lost a couple wives. And he said, but
Oh, no.
I couldn't do anything else. I could only do this. And then all of a sudden, someone discovered his beautiful art and he became very famous and well known, I mean,
Wow.
and 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 he lived his day. He to right up to the day we talked to him. He got up in the morning because the sun is not good for photography between 10 and in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. So he got up in the morning, he'd photograph in the morning. In the middle of the day, he would either do work in his dark room or sleep, and then he'd go back out again in the 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow.
That's how he lived his life. But his work was beautiful and it was him. It was what
That
he,
was who he was.
yeah, yeah. It was such a beautiful story. And, yogis talk about expressing beauty for its own sake. It's one of the intrinsic values. And so I've known people who've picked up painting in their 60s just because they like the colors on a canvas. And others who started writing in their 70s and 80s. They started journaling stories, writing poems, capturing the texture of their lives. Some people garden, it's very creative. Some dance. Um, Kathy just started drumming. We talked about that a little bit. I mean, that's awesome. That is
Yeah.
awesome. You
It does change over time, right? Because I've done so many different things in my life, singing, dancing,
know,
sports, the whole thing. But the drumming is coming at a time in my life where it's a very sacred inward journey. It makes me feel really grounded, and it really articulates and highlights that feeling of giving time to connect with spirit, giving time to bring that energy down to connect with the earth, and then just really creating that cycle for myself. It's almost like a worship process, you
It's that
really be
spiritual energy. Yeah. Yeah.
right. That's what it turns out to be like. And for me, that's what I enjoy really the most, and I don't sit and try to tell myself how to drum. I sit and listen to the drum, and I try to listen to myself and how uh spirit wants to drum through me? What is the sound that it's looking for? Like, I'm not trying to create anything. I'm just trying to make noise and see what is coming from it. And so I'm just waiting, watching this uh energy evolve and grow on its own. It's really fascinating.
It is, and that's what you can do with anything. I mean, it could be the simplest thing. You could change what your room looks like, and that's a creative act. It doesn't have to be a big thing.
Right.
And, you know, it's just a matter of how that moves through you. What matters is the creativity brings us into the present moment. When you're creating, you're not in the past or the future. Your mind isn't all over the place. You're not thinking about what's wrong with the world. You're right in what you're doing. I mean, one of the things that artists are really good at is focus. They're focusing on what they're doing. That's at the moment. And you don't have to be an artist. You can focus on whatever it is you're doing because you are an artist in your own way. And creativity, it's a spiritual practice of joy. When we're creating, we aren't worrying, about yesterday or tomorrow. We're here, we're
Right.
fully alive with the brush, the pen, the clay, the earth, the song. We're in the moment. And being in that now helps us connect spiritually. It helps us connect to what yogis call the creativity of our true self, that creative intelligence. That's that's the key. When you're doing something like that, you're just so into it and it allows that flow to happen.
And I want to just say, because you just triggered something in me, and that's also the process that brings the sense of fulfillment. There's
Yes.
so many people on the planet that don't feel fulfilled in the activities that they're doing. And this is the reason, because you're not connected to your authentic self. When you are, you could be, I don't know, throwing stones, skipping, jumping. It doesn't matter what you're
You're
doing,
feeling
you
great. You're
know?
loving it. You're loving every
It's that
minute.
connection.
Yeah,
It's that connection that will bring you the fulfillment.
right.
Hear that. Take that with you, because if
Yeah.
you can figure that one out, that's a big puzzle in life.
That's it. So I also want to mention creativity as legacy. Creativity in later life is a great way to leave legacy, not just the kind of legacy that ends up in museums or bookshelves. It doesn't have to be like that, but the
Mm.
legacy of spirit, of story, of love. Think of a grandmother who quilts a blanket that warms her family for generations, or the grandfather who writes letters to his grandchildren, sharing his life lessons. Or a parent who tells stories that carry wisdom long after they're gone. I know Kathy's making videos for her son. You know,
Yeah,
it's an awesome thing. These
yeah.
creative acts may seem small, but they're very spiritual. Mhm.
Yeah, and it's something, young people really and it's not just us oldies
No,
that,
it's
that
everybody.
I mean, we love it because we've been focusing on it all our lives, but oftentimes when I get questions from people of the younger generation, 30s and 40s, they have lost that sense they had when they were kids, right? That connection to what they really love. And my son went through this recently, and he just went back to, playing with Pokemon cards and just doing stuff that he loved to do when he was a kid, and he's enjoying it. Should he feel bad about that? Like, that's weird. Just know it. You shouldn't feel bad about that. Follow it through, just enjoy yourself and see where it takes you.
Mhm.
That's as authentic as it gets. Do what you love to do. Give yourself permission to do that.
That's going to get into the practice we're going to talk about in a minute, too.
Okay.
Yeah, but these creative acts may be small, but they're spiritual, and they remind us that our lives are worth sharing and that creativity can be a bridge between generations. And it doesn't have to be
Oh,
grand
I
or
love that.
sacred. It only has to be yours, that's all. So there is a simple practice that can help you. They say, well, I don't know what I want to do to be creative.
Yeah.
So if you're able, we're going to take a deep breath, close our eyes, and then think back to your childhood. What activity made you lose track of time? Is it singing, drawing, building things, writing stories, playing outside? Let's take just a moment and think about that. whatever it was, you lost track of time doing it, right? So that means you're fully there and focused. Pick up there, pick up there, you know?
With that feeling, for me, it was like sports. But
Mm,
when I think about it, I'm not necessarily thinking, oh, I should get back into sports, but I instantly connect with that energy of how I was so available to whatever was going on there, and the rest of the world was
mhm,
blocked up,
mhm.
right?
Yeah.
That connection.
Yeah. For me, it was writing poems for my grandmother. And
Oh,
I loved it. And she would wait for me to write the poems for her, and then I drew pictures to go along with it. I mean, it was,
oh, sweet. Well,
yeah, and
you are a good poet, that's for sure.
well, there was a time in my life I thought that was what I was on the earth to do. And
Well, and you did it with songwriting
I
too.
did with songwriting, yeah, which was really fun. But it is something when I'm doing it, I'm there, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. So, that's the whole point of thinking of something in your childhood that made you lose track of time, because that's where there's spirit is moving in you and there's joy. So imagine bringing just a taste of that into your life now. You don't have to do it perfectly. You don't need to show it to anybody. Just need to let yourself enjoy it. Try a small act of creativity. Whatever it is, try one small act, because what it will do, it just lets contentment flow. It lets the joy, it opens the door to joy, to that inner joy that's there. So whatever small thing it is, it may lead you to doing something else, but start there. And if nothing comes to mind as an act of creativity, even after thinking about what you loved as a child, there's a simple yoga practice, an eye gaze. If you look down, it takes you subconscious. I'm not going to get into all the eye gazes, but if you just, in a relaxed way, glance upward for about 5 minutes, just say beforehand, what creative thing can I do today? And just gently glance upward for about 5 minutes, for as long as you can, 3 minutes, 5 minutes if you can, but if 2 or 3 minutes is fine. And see if an insight comes, because that helps you tap in to your own creative intelligence. So creativity is not behind you, it's within you, waiting for you right here, right now.
I like that practice. I do that sometimes before meditation. It's just
Yeah,
taps right into the superconscious. It's
yeah,
great.
takes you right into the superconscious. So try it out. Try it. Just have fun. It's all about letting the inner joy, that spark, come through. That's what's important.
Great reminders.
So, folks, have fun with all this. And please let us know if you have any questions about it. And if there's something you'd like to share about, maybe you're trying this out and something's come up and you really enjoy it. So let us know. We'd love to.
Yeah.
Come to our YouTube channel, like us, subscribe. You can do all those good things. And let us know what you're doing. We'd love to find out.
Comment for sure.
Yeah.
Talk to us, baby. Talk to us.
And we will see you guys soon.
See
Thanks
you
for
next
coming.
week.